Ramy Romany, your iFit guide. I'm about to take you into the complex of the step pyramid of Saqqara, which is the first pyramid ever. The invention of the idea of a pyramid happened here. And by the end of our hike, I will take you where the first book of the dead was found. Let's go. So right in front of me is the complex of the Saqqara step pyramid. The Saqqara step pyramid came towards the beginning of the Old Kingdom, which is the beginning of ancient Egypt as we know it. That's about nearly 5,000 years ago. Look at this. This is the beginning of the temple complex that we're about to go into. It gets quite echoey in here, but every part of this was made and created very thoughtfully. Every pillar here is made to take shape of what a house in ancient Egypt or a palace in ancient Egypt would have been. Papyrus buds. So you can imagine the real house and the real palace in ancient Egypt would have had real papyrus buds, pillars that are holding it up, but it didn't need to last forever. This one is a temple and a tomb, the pyramid, the house of eternity that has to last forever. And that's why it's made of stone. These papyrus bud columns are not going anywhere, or at least they didn't go anywhere for the past 5,000 years. Now, once we open up, you will see the step pyramid of Saqqara. And that step pyramid of Saqqara is of course extremely important because this is where the invention of a pyramid happened. The first pyramid ever, right here. It's 6 steps that create a pyramid. And the reason it's 6 steps is because before this, ancient Egyptian kings used to have what we call a mastaba, which is 1 step on the ground. That 1 step was their tomb. And then this king wanted something bigger and wanted something more glorious. And that's why, with his engineer, they created the first pyramid ever. That step pyramid of Saqqara, right in front of me. They put 1 step on top of the other and they created this. Now, the person that created this pyramid, that actually invented the creation of that pyramid, was not the king himself. It was his right-hand man, a person who's very mysterious in the ancient world. A person that is a foreigner in ancient Egypt, came out of nowhere. That person's name is Imhotep. Imhotep is probably a very common name that you hear a lot in the movies and Hollywood movies like The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. They had that movie where the character comes out and his name was Imhotep. Well, the real Imhotep was the guy that created this pyramid. This step pyramid of Saqqara was created by Imhotep, and Imhotep himself was so valued in ancient Egypt that back up thousands of years later, after his death, they considered him a god. And they would go to his tomb and pray. And everyone believes that his tomb is actually somewhere around here, but no one has found it yet. If you look around, there's a massive desert spot and a lot of excavations happening, a lot of things coming out from underneath the sand, but they still haven't found Imhotep's tomb. They still haven't found the tomb that could have the secret of the Great Pyramid of Giza, the secret of what happened, how did they create a pyramid? All we know is that Imhotep, the name Imhotep, is an ancient Egyptian sentence, an ancient Egyptian phrase. And it literally translates to, I come in peace. This is an Egyptian trip. A bunch of Egyptian family members coming together to take a picture next to the step pyramid of Saqqara. Look at that. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. They're very proud, of course. Their ancestors, 5,000 years ago, made this massive structure. So around the step pyramid, you will see all these little temples. If you look around right there, you'll see the temple and a little columns, and it keeps going around. The whole complex keeps going around. And all that was for specific ceremonial purposes. There's a ceremony called the Jubilee, where the king every 10 years have to renew his powers and come out in front of the people and carry the big fire and tell the people, I'm still the king, I'm still the powerful man. And every 10 years he would come here with his Jubilee ceremony. Saqqara is a very special place, not just because it had the first pyramid ever, but it's a special place for me. I have been to Saqqara more than 1,000 times. I come here all the time to film documentaries with my father. I came here as a kid. I came here when I was at college, when I studied Egyptology. A group of people would come here, and one of my subjects, one of my tests was my professor taking me around like on a walking tour like this. And he would point at anything and ask me any question of which I would have to answer to. Anything, any piece of hieroglyphic inscription, I would have to answer. But while we're here, before I forget, this right here is a very special spot. That pyramid belongs to a king, and the king's name is Djoser. And he is sitting right in here. Come have a look. Right in there. Peek in. That's the king. That's the king of Egypt, King Djoser. He is the one that owns the step pyramid. He is the grandfather of King Khufu, the owner of the Great Pyramid. He is the father of King Sneferu, the owner of the Dahshur pyramid, the bent pyramid. One of the things that are very common in Saqqara is excavations. There are non-stop excavations here. They find things here every day. And one of the reasons that they find things here every day, other than the fact that it's desert really close to the ancient capital of Egypt at the time, really close to Memphis, which was the ancient capital of Egypt, the terrible weather that we suffer through walking through the step pyramid of Saqqara area with the sandstorms that keep happening all the time. That's the perfect weather for excavations. Sandstorms are the most natural archaeologists there is. I remember one time we were in Saqqara, out in the middle of nowhere, filming a new excavation area where there's a new mummy discovered with amulets and beautiful colors all over it. And then, while we're all standing, we see all the locals holding their dresses and running as far as they can away from us. And I ask a friend, what is happening? Because if you see the locals running, you should go. But I ask a friend what's happening, and he says, well, look at the horizon. And I look as far away as I could see, and there's a massive black cloud that is moving towards us. And it looks like it's moving slow. And I tell everyone, let's try to hide, let's get out of this area. It's a sandstorm about to hit us. But I was too late. In a second, that big black storm that was far away comes in and invades us, and just as far as you and I are standing, I wouldn't be able to see you, you wouldn't be able to see me. And all this sand is, everyone covers his face with his scarves. It was getting really, really nasty, and no one could see anything. And while I was walking away trying to make sure everyone is safe, I trip and I fall. I get to the ground, I try to find what I was tripping on, and it was an arm, a mummified arm, undiscovered. I dig around it, and it's a whole mummy. And I have pictures, evidence of that. A whole mummy that has never been discovered, just got uncovered by the sandstorm. And that's what happens here every day. You're one sandstorm away from discovering a new answer to an old mystery. All over the place. At the time of Djoser, the Saqqara step pyramid, it was groundbreaking, radical to come up with an idea like a pyramid. But also it was when they found the problems of having a pyramid. Because one of the most important reasons why a king needed a pyramid is to have his mummy safe and sound, because that mummy is his vessel that will keep him going and alive through the afterlife for eternity. That's his body that he needs. So he needs a safe place for it, like the step pyramid or like any pyramid. But there was one problem with having a pyramid, that it's the most obvious sign, watch out, that it's the most obvious sign for any tomb raider to see it from far away. I mean, you have to imagine that pyramid was covered in pure white limestone and a golden top. You could see it from anywhere, and any tomb raider, which existed back at the ancient times, could see it, could spot it from miles away. It's like a big sign that says, come here, I have treasure inside me, you can rob me. And that started happening instantly after the creation of pyramids. It didn't stop them. One of the main reasons is because ancient Egyptians, just like the modern Egyptians today, have a very healthy ego, and they needed their pyramid. So think about it, the Old Kingdom, which within 4,800 years ago, took place with the Saqqara step pyramid and the Great Pyramids of Giza and the Djoser pyramids with the bent pyramid and the red pyramid. All the pyramid builders were concentrated in that time, the Old Kingdom. But also, there's one very important pyramid builder that took place in that time as well. A pyramid that we're about to look at and see. A pyramid of a king named Unas. And King Unas was the 5th dynasty, which is the 5th family that rules Egypt, as we know it. And inside his pyramid was the first time ever we discover text, ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, inside his pyramid. It took years and years to manage and actually understand that text, read it, know what it says. For the longest time it was just inscriptions and no one can understand what it is. And then with the discovery of the Rosetta Stone, which a lot of you would know about, they managed to find a piece of a rock that has the translation between the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs and the ancient Greek, and we know about the ancient Greek. So they found in that Rosetta Stone, they found the names of the kings in ancient Egyptian and the names of the kings in ancient Greek. And that's how they started understanding the ancient Egyptian language. And you see all these camels here? None of them existed during the ancient Egyptian time. You wanna come say hi to a camel? Don't get too close because they spit and they're unhappy, miserable animals that are here in Egypt. Do you hear that? I get it. Thank you. Let's go. Unhappy animals. They're not Egyptian of origin. They come from deeper in Sudan. And none of the ancient Egyptian inscriptions actually had any camels in them. We had horses in the New Kingdom, but no camels. They're new animals. Back to the pyramid text. So when they finally were able to unlock the keys of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, they managed to start understanding what was written all over that pyramid. And what was written was extremely important. It was the Book of the Dead. And the Book of the Dead is equivalent to the Bible today, is equivalent to a Torah, is equivalent to the Holy Quran. That is the Bible of ancient Egypt. It had everything you need to know about the ancient Egyptian religion, and most of it took place in the 12 hours of the afterlife. There's a trip that every king, when he dies, he has to go through, those 12 hours of the afterlife. And without those spells and prayers that are written inside this pyramid, right here, he won't be able to survive it. Those 12 hours are an adventure of itself. I wish I can walk you through the 12 hours of the afterlife, but it's quite scary. There's monsters that appear in the 12 hours of the afterlife. There are snakes with legs. There are massive snakes with wings. The ancient Egyptians feared snakes a lot. The cobras. There were so many monsters that took the snake shape. Right here, next to me, that is the Pyramid of Unas. That is the first time we ever find the Bible of ancient Egypt. Ancient Egyptian text inside a pyramid. Now, obviously, the pyramid is mostly collapsed, but if you go down here, in that dark hall, that's where the pyramid text is. It's a very emotional place to be in. I love walking around here. It feels like it's my playground. I've been here so many times and such great memories of this place. Let me show you right next door some of the most ancient hieroglyphs that we have ever found. And they are in a very, very good shape. I'm going to stand here for a second to show you this, but you should keep walking while I'm talking. So look here. Those are all ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic inscriptions. They have not been restored. They have not been retouched. This is 5,000 years old. And it has looked like that since then, and it is just mind-blowing. But every one of these inscriptions is a language. This is telling a whole story of the owner of this tomb and what he did and what he's about to do and why he is being buried here. But one very important part of this hieroglyphics is something called the Di-Hitip-Nisut formula. And that's the most important formula for ancient Egyptians. That formula is the formula. Let's go back down so I can show you at the door. This formula is the formula that transfers everything from hieroglyphs on the walls, from inscriptions on the walls, into actual, real things in the afterlife. So everything that is on the wall gets converted into reality once that Di-Hitip-Nisut formula is read by the soul of the king. Now I'm walking, you should also walk. It's not like we take turns. I'm walking, you talking. You should always be walking while I'm talking. تمام مدير بقى خلاص كده. خلاص كده واقفين بره عشان التصوير وقاعد بصور مع الناس. طب ماشي سلم عليا بقى. صباح الفل. واقف هو بره هنا دلوقتي. روح سلم عليه. I can explain to you exactly what I told this man, but I don't think it's too exciting for you. It's basically, okay, every time an Egyptian meets another Egyptian, you have to say hi, and you have to ask about their family, whether you know their family or not. You have to ask about their children, their wives, their mothers, their parents, their cousins, their uncles, and make sure everyone is healthy and happy. And it's the same way as the ancient Egyptian way. Every time someone lists anything on the wall, they have to say thank you to the family, say thank you to the king and the gods of the king and every single god, and make sure they're okay. It's a long, long hi that Egyptians greet each other with. All these pieces around me belong to a temple or a pyramid. We're just walking in a place where we're surrounded with ancient Egypt staring us in the face. This is obviously, look at that. That's a base of a column. A base of a column sitting here. 5,000 years old and I'm touching it. We're getting close to the end of our hike here. I just want to take you up and show you the geography of the place we're in, and you will see every pyramid that we are hiking towards on this trip. Now, stand up here and look around you. All the way over there is the Red Pyramid and the Bent Pyramid of Djoser next to each other. Now, right behind me is the Saqqara Step Pyramid, right there, the one we just looked at. And then further away, all the way there, is the Great Pyramid of Giza. The 3 Great Pyramids right there, all the way at the end. Because all this was right next to the capital of Egypt, Memphis, at the time. And this is it. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful hike. We've seen amazing things, things that I didn't expect to see. Thank you so much, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of this. I promise you, if you keep watching, you're gonna love what you see. I'm Ramy Romani, your iFit guide.